We'll bring in Ed DeRosa, Director of Marketing at Brisnet, brought to you by Twin Spires, where players win. And we'll say happy Thanksgiving to Ed DeRosa and the family of five.
Thank you very much. Yeah, someone referred to it as Twinsgiving for me this year, so looking forward to sharing the cornucopia with the additions and not only good food and fellowship, but also great racing this weekend.
Will there be turkey puree, or are they not that far along?
No, not that far along. They'll get the recycled version from Mom.
All right, so there'll be lots of peas and mashed potato, I guess, and so forth. Well, but Ed, little Ed, though, he's game.
Yeah, he's getting the mashed peas and such for sure, absolutely.
Very nice. Well, Ed, the topic is an interesting one, and we're kind of reaching around to find various elements of online play and the ADW platform concepts, and you're still learning. I mean, in terms of the director of marketing role at Brisnet and the interface with Twin Spires, of course. We talk weekly, and we're always touching on new areas where there's something for the player, whether it's the blogging information and the podcasts that Derek Simon does, and what you're writing, and Doug Salvatore with pedigree information. I mean, that's a whole nother sidebar to what being a member of an ADW site includes. And then there's the access to the various pieces of information and having them at your fingertips right on the interface. Talk a little bit about what your role is and what you believe the platforms can do to make the player experience as good as it can be and make players more successful.
I think for me, just even going back to how I got involved in racing, going to the track with my grandfather, I was always struck by the sense of community and sort of the denizens of the racetrack. And I think what we've seen, especially the last couple years, especially, but even over the last 5 or 10, is online wagering is involved, is that to really be successful in the space and groom players, you need to bring some semblance of that community, whether it's the daily play of someone like me who's involved on a daily basis, or the weekend warriors who maybe don't go to the track as much but still want to be involved. It's so much more than just watching a race. It's talking about it afterward, and for better or worse, maybe complaining about it afterward. It's talking about it before. It's being able to crow about a winner you had. And I think a lot of what we've done over the last few years at Brisnet and Twin Spires, and a big part of my involvement, is making sure that there's plenty of options for however people want to interact with the sport. And if that's signing on to the tried and true interface they're used to, whether it was from America Tab or YouBet, we have that. If they want to dig deeper and get involved in the conversations in the blog, we're certainly on social media and things like that. The contest interface, getting people to Vegas, offering cash prizes, we have that. So it's definitely, to me, you can't mimic the on-track experience. Certainly the thrill of winning is something that translates well. But live racing, there's no replacement for that than being there. But that sense of community, that sense of all that goes into a day at the races, and bringing that excitement as much as you can to the online experience or the mobile experience if you're on the go, to me, is the essential part of my job at Twin Spires and Brisnet.
You mentioned the tournament and getting people to Vegas, and that is an innovation and an aspect of what the ADW scene has basically wrought, which is a proximity. And for those that can't follow around the country to the on-site opportunities to qualify for things like Vegas and the BCBC, the platforms have brought it and delivered it right into people's homes, and that's an advantage and a new landscape that is a major plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we see it sort of bridging that experience, bringing the excitement home, and then also full circle to those lucky and I should say skillful enough to qualify, getting them in a big room with fellow horse players. You hear it all the time. Part of the excitement, obviously, being there for a chance at all that money and the title of Handicapper of the Year. But you hear it all the time from new people. It's an infectious environment, and you get them in a room, and here are people predominantly anymore probably used to playing in a solitary situation or maybe only among a couple people. So it's definitely, to me, definitely added to racing, having these contests that not only offer cash and prizes on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but then also the ability to, as I said, sort of bring it full circle and give even bigger prizes to those who choose to go down that path. And we've definitely seen it work in poker, and I somewhat hesitate to use that example because really the NHC predated the poker boom, but it clearly what online poker did for the main event. I think we're seeing a similar situation with the NHC now. I mean, it keeps getting bigger in purse value because you are able to qualify online, and we're definitely happy to be a part of it and looking forward to sending 20 people there this Saturday.
The other tools, and give a survey, Ed, of everything for those that haven't been on Twin Spires. The ease by which you can go from screen to screen, and then of course the video experience. I mean, one of the things that I know that Twin Spires has been most proud of is the multiple screens and having as many as 5 different, basically, your own ADW or your own simulcast parlor at home. Talk about the interface and what is, from your experience so far, what is important to players that they want to have at their fingertips?
The big thing, I think the word you sort of zeroed in on is ease and efficiency of being able to pull up the information or the feed you want without hassle. And we have definitely invested a lot of man hours and money to make that as smooth as possible for the user, whether it's Kentucky Derby Day or a Tuesday morning for people who really like racing from South Africa or Sweden. And to me, that's definitely, I think, then this predates my involvement with the company, but I think Churchill made a great tactical move where with America Tab and YouBet, they got interfaces people were used to. They knew they liked. They were popular. These were services people had no problem using, and they kept them. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel there. But with Twin Spires TV, they definitely brought the consumption of the entertainment experience to a new level. The images are crisp for the tracks that send up their signal in HD. We're able to pull it down as such, so those look even better. And everything, as you said, is there at your fingertips, including the BurstNet PPs, which are free when you wager. There is a lot of information there. I've said this on your show many times. I think race to race, you'd be foolish to try to digest every piece of information. Different conditions call for a look at different variables. But knowing it's all there and whatever race you happen to pick up, you know that there's going to be pertinent information, I think goes a long way to give people confidence to play the races on a daily basis.
Jeremy.
Ed, we've had some questions in the chat from people, about the exchange wagering and what that is and its likelihood. I know you took part a little bit in the live chat online before you jumped on with us on the radio dial for those listening in. Explain to the folks what exchange wagering is and why you think it's a long way off in the U.S.
Yeah, I just think, I remember back 10 years ago when I was playing poker and not feeling like a criminal for doing so online. I thought it was, a no-brainer that 5-10 years down the road that a lot more gaming would be regulated, and here we are, and you could easily argue that it's actually less. We've taken a step back in that regard. So I'm just not bullish, even despite regulations and laws that technically allow it, that this is something that's going to happen any time. To sort of bank on that is an option for wagering. But, I do think it offers some exciting opportunities. A lot of people sort of associate it with laying horses. To me, The thing I like most about it is just the idea of treating our major races like a market, and being able to buy and sell Derby horses this far out, buying low, selling high down the road, things of that nature. That, to me, is the exciting part of exchange wagering, and if it ever comes, I imagine that's where most of my action is going to be, is opinions on the big races that I follow on a daily basis.
Let's play devil's advocate, or not devil's advocate, but let's play, magic wand and wave it. Let's say Adam Silver and the folks in the NBA, they push and sports wagering becomes legal, and the culture changes. Do more people coming together to bet benefit horse racing, or does it siphon away from horse racing if you had to project out? I mean, as a racing fan, should we be rooting for more online wagering and more people coming to the internet to bet other things, or is that a bad thing for us?
I actually think it's a good thing, and I'll tell you why. I think from the number of people who digest racing online on a daily basis, if that's your pool, it's a bad thing. Money is certainly going to evaporate from those. We're going to lose market share to those who are already participating. However, I have hope in what we've seen from Tabcorp in Australia and all the different online organizations, online bookmakers in Europe, that so much more money is going to come on to the online gaming that I'd just be shocked if enough of it didn't come over that it actually gave racing a boost. Now, does that mean that Mahoning Valley on Tuesday is all of a sudden going to be a hot signal? It might get a little boost, but I think the big races will actually attract a lot of attention. And from a bookmaker standpoint, why not? I mean, there's good margins in taking bets on racing, and that's why Twin Spires does it. That's why our competitors all got in the market. It can be a good business if done correctly, and we know that horse players like it. It's convenient. It's fun to wager from home. So to me, there's a tremendous upside in getting people who want to bet on sports, getting those, what I would think is millions of people online betting on sports. There's no reason to think some of them won't come over to racing and make up for the market share we lose for those who are already indulging in racing.
We've had some fans over the past couple weeks ask about that, a day at the races, how you prepare for a day at the races, and now we're talking about online wagering. Give us a sense if Ed DeRosa has the kids away, Mrs. D has the kids out at the playground, and you get a Saturday to yourself, which I know doesn't happen that often anymore. What does a day playing from home for you look like? I mean, how are you preparing? What technology do you have set up? Are you playing on a laptop? Do you have TVs going? What's a day playing at home for Ed look like?
For me, the first thing is definitely looking over, which tracks are running and any potential carryovers. I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to finding a track. So for me, if there's a pick four carryover, I think those are a lot of fun to go after. So I immediately zero in on those. Otherwise, I'm a New York, Florida, Kentucky guy, the major signals east of the Mississippi for sure. So once I zero in on where I want to play, then the next thing is accessing the BrisNet PPs and just digging in. First thing I like to look at, just in general, is take a survey of the race, the pace scenario, things of that nature. I'm not going to go into how I handicap every race, but I just would like to get a feel for what races I might have a strong opinion on, and then just build my wagering strategy from there. As far as actually using the ADW, usually one computer does it for me. It's new, so it's fast enough to quickly toggle between windows and menus. But I have Twin Spires TV open. I use the classic interface to actually wager, and then I have any number of windows open to go between past performances, the premium type numbers like Thorograph or Predictiform. I also consult, and then if it's a maiden race or some sort of interesting 2-year-old race, I'm looking at workout reports as well. So one thing Steve talked about earlier, and just sort of all the information and how you use it, one thing I've really tried to focus on the last couple years, and especially this year, and people who read the blog may have noticed me looking for these types of angles, is really getting away from, okay, I want to play a pick four because I like the bet, and maybe that's my chance to win a lot of money. You can't play every sequence, obviously, so I'm definitely trying to pick my spots better, not only with multi-race sequences to play, but also paying much more attention to the win odds. I just have found that there are definitely overlays out there, and with the information available, whether it's those premium performance figures or just nuggets in the Brisnet PPs or APR online or something from a workout report, you don't really need a lot to take a shot on a 15 or 20 to 1 horse. And I've just found my ROI does pretty well trying to zero in on those opportunities that come up once or twice a day. So to me, that's a big part of the strategy is focusing more on the overlays and not necessarily saying, okay, I have to play this pick 4 because it's available.
Being able to see those odds in real time when you want to see them on demand is really one of the big advantages of playing from home versus being at the track. We've all been there. We've all been there with a sore neck looking up at a TV monitor, 5 and pays, 6 and pays, 7 and pays, and we've got to get all the way around to see what the double's going to pay with the 3 and something, and then they switch over and show you what the exact probables are going to be. When you only get one TV monitor to look at, they have a very big juggling task to do at the racetrack in order to give you all the information you may want as a horse player. With the kind of interface that they have at Twin Spires and even some of the smaller ADWs that I've used, to be able to go through and look at the exact probables, the will pays for all the pick 3s, pick 4s, the multi-race wagers at any click that you want is really a big advantage in knowing what odds you're going to get by post time and getting a real feel for how the races are being bet and how they will be bet. And that is something that is an advantage, and I think that's probably why some of the bigger players, like Steve talked about, do gravitate, because there are some advantages to being home.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I definitely take advantage of that one-click access all the time. And that, one way wagering has changed is, we all have heard the old days when there was one daily double, and then maybe there was a late daily double, or maybe one pick 3, and it was easy to see the will pays on the screen because they only had to scroll through one. Well, gosh, now if it's the second to last race at NYRA, you have a pick 3, you have a Grand Slam, you have double. If it's the last race, you have pick 6, pick 4, pick 3, double. It takes a lot to scroll through all that, and it doesn't, though, if you're online and have the one-click bet or one-click option to see all those. And the other thing is, people in the chat were mentioning the late odds drops, and there's definitely an issue with hopefully we can get to be slightly more efficient, but the fact is that the money's always going to come in at the last minute, and it's a give or take for me. I mean, I like being able to wait until the horses literally, or the first one goes in, and I'm able to put my win bet in comfortably. To me, that's a big perk. So you sort of have to get a feel for how the odds are going, and it can be frustrating. I also think it works both ways pretty evenly, much to the contrary thoughts of some people online. So to me, it's a big bonus that you can, A, look at all those will pays, as you said, and the exact probables, et cetera, but B, also wait until pretty much the last minute to make your bet.
Have you guys done any studies on the conditional wagering, and not even studies, but just kind of notice how much those kind of features get used? We feel that the late odds drops a lot of times are batch wagering and conditional wagering, where folks set a limit and say, if this horse is over 3 to 1 at post time, I'd like to wager X amount. That's how the conditional wagering works technically. And the wagers are supposed to be placed, at post time. Do those features get used much in your study of the industry?
For us, it does get used quite a bit. The one thing with Twin Spires, though, is it is a 0 minutes to post cutoff. So for us, right. The conditional wagering is not as effective at Gulfstream Park because you still have several minutes before they go to the gate when they flash 0. Whereas at NYRA and Keeneland, you're getting a pretty fair shake. So, it's sort of track dependent how good that is at 0 minutes to post, because some aren't anywhere near the gate at that time. But other services that allow batch wagering don't necessarily have that 0 cutoff. It could be automated or it could be push button. And the other thing is a lot of those players are able to get into the exacta and trifecta pools in that matter. So when people think that, it's all win money, that's typically not the case. A lot of that batch wagering money is coming in on exactas and in odd combinations too, $11, $13, whatever the computer program says is optimal. So it's not just win wagering that's affected, and I think it's typically overblown. Having said that, though, I agree with pretty much everyone who says, hey, let's improve TOPE, because it is not the most efficient system in gaming.
I'm going to think that this is just commonsensical, but I don't know the answer to it. And with wagering online, is the handle corresponding to the handle as we see? Do the bigger tracks take the most money even online? Or is there an element of the convenience that does make some good time slots, Tuesday afternoons without much competition, nighttime? Is there any advantage to the at-home, or is it still the big tracks take all the money and the smaller tracks take their same proportions?
No, it's pretty, the tracks you would expect to do well are the ones doing well, even though it's at home. So the market share bears out that, okay, hey, it's Aqueduct, and they're going to be, if they're the most popular signal that day, and all sources handle, 9 times out of 10, they're the most popular signal in our handle as well. And the same goes for, all the way down to, if you were to say what's the 5th most popular signal, it matches up. The exception is you do get some regional bias. Like we have more Kentucky users than other ADWs. So Keeneland and Churchill might get a bump versus Aqueduct or Santa Anita. And TVG has a lot more California users than we do, so they might have a bump for the SoCal signals. But typically it's pretty even, and the big ones do well.
Well, and of course, one of the things that Twin Spires is famous for, and we won't get a chance to talk about it because we'll be on together on Friday, Ed, but a lot of fun interaction with the player community, things like Thursday's 1 million point Pigskin and Ponies Pick 6, where you combine the 3 NFL games Thursday with racing action, and of course starting on Friday, the opportunity to bet the Derby future wager. Tomorrow, people want to get involved in the players pool. I mean, there's a real atmosphere of interaction and encouragement. And whether it's helping people, find new tools to be successful or win their way, as you said, to Vegas, or wade into multi-race wagering with the Pick 6 pools. There's so much going on, and you guys do your best to make it fun and make it rewarding for people, and that's one of the obligations that a lot of us in these positions really take to heart. I mean, we want people to do better at the races, and want to help them improve their play, and it makes it to me very rewarding when you put those tools into players' hands.
Yeah, I appreciate that and agree. I mean, I think our slogan, "Where Players Win," is apt, because we want people to get involved and enjoy themselves. And winning at the track or betting on the races definitely means something different to a lot of different people. And for us, a lot of the things you mentioned contribute to sort of that feeling of winning, whether it's cashing a promo, being a part of a player's pool that does well, getting involved in the Derby this far ahead. Maybe you don't cash your ticket, but hey, you have 50-1 on a horse who's going to be 10-1. All those things add to the experience, and we're absolutely thrilled to provide it, and welcome to suggestions as well, as always. So if anyone has any ideas or experiences, I'm very accessible, as most people know, so hit me up.